Good morning, everybody. Happy 4th of July. I hope you're having a wonderful Sunday and 4th of July weekend and that you can have a safe and a happy day tomorrow. Let's talk about Matthew 20, verses 17 through 19 for just a minute. And then hopefully I'll see you up at Sunday school at 10 o'clock and we'll talk more about Matthew 20, which is the amazing story of the last days of Jesus. As he was going up to Jerusalem, Jesus took the 12 disciples apart and said to them while they were on the road, "Look, we are going up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will be delivered to the chief priests and the scribes, and they will condemn him to death, and they will hand him over to the Gentiles to be mocked and scourged and to crucify, and on the third day he will be raised." This is the third time that Jesus warned his disciples that he was on the way to the cross. And when you want to look back at that, you recall when we did this study, it was in Matthew 16 and 21 and Matthew 17, 22 and 23. Do they still get it? I don't know. But both Mark and Luke add their own touches to this story to show that there was an atmosphere of tenseness and foreboding of tragedy among the apostles. Mark says that Jesus was walking ahead of them by himself and that the disciples were amazed and afraid. That's in Mark 10, 32 through 34. They didn't understand, but they could see that the inward struggle with Jesus was in his soul. Luke also tells how Jesus took the disciples alone to himself and to try to compel them to understand what was ahead. That's in Luke 18, 31 through 34. Jesus deliberately set out to Jerusalem and to the cross. I think when we think about that and the great sacrifice that he made, we have to remember that he didn't, he had a choice. He didn't have to go. He went for us. I mean, for all of us who were unborn, everyone who's lived in the last 2,000 years, he went for all of us so that we didn't have to worry about whether or not we would be given the grace to be able to be saved and live in heaven someday. He was, on the way to the cross, we know that he knows that he's going to be betrayed into the hands of the chief priest and the scribes. And of course, who did that? Well, it was Judas Iscariot. And he's there with them right now when Jesus is telling the story and he's saying to them that he's going to be betrayed. And he knows that Judas is going to do it. And you have to wonder in the back of your mind, does Judas have any idea whatsoever that he's going to do this? Does he feel any rebellion? Does he feel anything against Jesus that he thinks that he might do something in order to cause Jesus' death? I doubt it. Here we see the suffering of a broken heart because, Jesus knows these are his friends. He spent over 3 years with them now, and he knows that he's going to have this disloyalty that's going to cause his death because he's going to be betrayed. He was to be condemned to death. We see the suffering here of injustice. Have you ever felt like that you got accused of something and it was unfairly? You know how terrible you felt and how you wanted just to cry out and say, I didn't do that? Well, this is, Jesus could very easily do this, but he didn't. He's going to the cross. He's going to Jerusalem. It's deliberate that he sets out to do this because he knows he must do this for the future of Christianity. He was going to be mocked by the Romans. When it says over there, it'll be handed over to the Gentiles. That's the Romans. And there we will see Jesus suffering humiliation and deliberate insult. Remember the thorn of crowns and how they mocked him and they scourged him. When they scourged him, guys, there's few tortures in the world that can be compared to the Roman scourge. A scourge was a Roman implement that it was severe bodily punishment. It consisted of weighted and jagged pieces of stone or metal that were tied to cords that were affixed to a wooden handle. The blow was more painful and more effective than any kind of whipping that we can ever imagine. Here we see his physical suffering and pain. Finally, he was to be crucified, and that is the ultimate suffering of death. You know, the Romans had this thing about suffering and pain and death. They had it down to a fine art on how to deliver the worst, most terrible death that anyone could ever imagine. It is as if Jesus gathers to himself every possible, think about this, every possible physical, emotional, and mental suffering that could be inflicted. But guys, think about this. When he's talking to the apostles, he finishes with a confident assertion of the resurrection. So even as he's telling this terrible story about all the things that are going to happen to him, and you know, he's fully man, he's fully God, and he's fully man, so he knows how much this is going to hurt and how much he's going to suffer, and he knows he's going to die. But guys, he finishes with a look beyond death, because he tells them on the third day that he's going to be resurrected, and that's something that's never happened. So guys, on this 4th of July, just know that a wonderful, kind, loving, confident Jesus went to the cross for all of us so that we can enjoy life, and knowing that through his grace that we can be saved and we can live in heaven with him someday. I hope you have an awesome day today. Enjoy your family, enjoy the good food. And guys, I'll see you in Sunday school. Thank you.